This week in Jamaica Now, state of emergency declared for St. James after 2 schoolboys were shot dead. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says his views on the death penalty are changing.
There are no souls there. They have no heart.
The Speaker has ruled, but why does Mark Golding believe it's problematic?
I think that we are going down the wrong track.
I am making an effort to ensure that when history is written, this Speaker does what is right.
Vindicated. Supreme Court clears Foreign Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith in Commonwealth campaign funding drama. And Jamaica names its 2024 Rhodes Scholar. I'm Jovan Johnson and this is Jamaica Now. Jamaica was left in shock Monday after 2 primary school boys and a man were shot dead as they travelled in a taxi as gang conflict in the Flower Hill area of Salt Spring intensified. 7-year-old Justin Perry and 9-year-old Nakaleave Smith, both students of the Chetwood Memorial Primary School in St. James, were on their way home when the incident happened. The other deceased person, 26-year-old Tevin Hale, was reportedly the target. Within 48 hours, lawmakers across the political divide condemned the incident and Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced a state of emergency for St. James. At a press briefing on Wednesday, Mr. Holness said he blamed the opposition PNP for a resurgence in murders in the Western Parish because the party refused to support the extension of previous states of emergency. Mr. Holness urged support for tough anti-crime measures, saying his views on the death penalty are evolving.
My own view on the penalty for murder has evolved. I was never a supporter of the death penalty. But the more I study this matter and begin to understand the minds of the criminals, there are no souls there. They have no heart. They need to be removed from among us. But I'm not here to get into a debate about the jurisprudence on this matter. But within the limits of that jurisprudence, I believe the highest penalty possible should be applied. And currently, the penalties now are not a deterrent.
And opposition leader Mark Golding says while he understands the government's need to respond very strongly to Monday's murder of the 2 schoolboys, the use of states of emergency is not a valid approach.
This is a strategy that the government has been relying on for the last 5 years. We don't think it's a valid strategy. That's why we're testing it in court. We understand the need to respond very strongly to what happened in Salt Spring community, and I want to extend condolences to the parents and family of the 2 young boys who were killed in that awful incident. You know, we heard Heroy Clark yesterday in Parliament call for a Zozo in the community. Now, the zones of special operations are something that we support, you know, in appropriate cases, and we feel that that would be the right mechanism to deploy here. The states of emergency, as you know, we do not think that they can be validly used as a policing tool. And they haven't worked because the crime problem in the country continues. What we need is social interventions to redirect youth at risk away from crime, and we need serious strategies for law enforcement to ensure that hardened criminals, violence producers are effectively addressed and cases are built that can hold them accountable and ultimately put them behind bars for long periods of time. And we're committed to that balanced strategy.
Meanwhile, the police responded to more than a dozen schools on Thursday and Friday across at least 4 parishes after hundreds of students were sent home over a security concern. Deputy Commissioner of Police Fitz Bailey said an email was circulated suggesting explosives were placed at a number of schools. The police later said that the threat was a hoax. The Ministry of National Security said more than 45 reports were received. A teacher at Campion College in St. Andrew resigned following allegations that he engaged in inappropriate behavior with a student. The Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offences and Child Abuse said it received a report from a student and is investigating. Sissoko declined to give further details, noting that the case involves a minor. Now, in a statement to parents, board chairman at Campion, Anton Thompson, said the school took immediate steps to address the situation as soon as it was brought to its attention. He said that resulted in the resignation of the teacher and the matter reported to the authorities. Mr. Thompson said the school is cooperating fully with the ongoing investigations and counselling services are available for students who need support. Campion, a Roman Catholic institution, is one of the top performing high schools in the English-speaking Caribbean. Prime Minister Andrew Holness said Wednesday he was in the process of responding to queries from the Integrity Commission about his income and assets. His declarations for 2021 and 2022 have not been certified, which he said has left him concerned. In May, Mr. Holness indicated that he was in the dark as to what was preventing the Commission from publishing his 2021 statutory declaration. On Wednesday, he said the Commission reached out to him with additional questions. He did not give specifics on the queries.
They have written to me asking various questions. I have provided answers, and they have written to me again, and I'm in the process of providing those answers. You will, however, appreciate that it does take some time, and particularly for me, to get 2 or 3 days to go through matters and provide answers. I simply have to be very frugal with my time. And I suspect the same for the Integrity Commission that have to go through several thousands of declarations. But I would expect that they would give some priority to my declarations. I do hope to be able to respond to them before the end of this week. So I'm hopeful that they would do their work and provide the nation with the necessary certification. To be clear, I have tried not to comment on the issue because I find myself in an invidious position in that I have to protect and defend most times the institutions of the country. So my silence should not be interpreted as not wanting to address it.
Speaker of the House of Representatives Juliet Holness Tuesday announced long-anticipated rulings regarding the treatment of reports from the Integrity Commission and the Auditor General's Department. She said investigation reports from the Integrity Commission will be tabled as soon as possible after submission to Parliament. However, annual and special reports will go to the Integrity Commission's Oversight Committee for deliberation first and tabled after. A document becomes public once it has been tabled, and the usual practice was for the tabling of any report as soon as they are submitted to Parliament. Opposition leader Mark Golding says he has a problem with the ruling.
So you could have a situation where a matter of public interest, a matter that is vital in terms of its impact on the governance of the country, is sent to Parliament, and because of this procedure, is sent to a committee without the members being aware of it, without the public being aware of it, because it's not tabled. And then the time frame for that committee to hear that matter is up to that committee to determine. I think that's a very unsatisfactory way of proceeding, and I can tell you it was never contemplated that the Integrity Commission's reports or the Auditor General's reports, which are about transparency and accountability in government, would be subject to a parliamentary procedure which runs against that objective and that principle. So I think that we are going down the wrong track by saying that we're going to henceforth be following a procedure which delays or postpones the tabling of documents, reports sent here, the Parliament of the land, by investigative bodies.
However, the Speaker insisted that she was doing the right thing.
If the intention of the Parliament and the legislators at the time was to have all reports tabled immediately, it would have said that. The legislation said table in 31 and 54, subsection 4, in the soonest possible time. When the legislations are passed, it cannot be that we allow persons to think that in obeying the laws, we are doing the wrong thing. We cannot cherry pick which laws we obey and which ones we are going to say it is not convenient to obey, so we are going to do something else. And so, where we have had these issues, where, and I checked the Hansard, some previous speakers actually make no ruling. They just decide this makes sense and go ahead. I am making an effort to ensure that when history is written, this speaker does what is right in the sight of the law.
Jamaica's Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith committed no breach related to corporate donations to her failed bid for the post of Commonwealth Secretary General. The Supreme Court on Thursday made the ruling in dismissing a lawsuit brought by Wilfred Rattigan, a Jamaican-born retired United States law enforcement agent. He was granted permission to appeal the decision. Justice Dale Staple was strong in his judgment, declaring that Mr. Rattigan had no standing to bring the lawsuit and simply did not present any evidence of the breaches he was asking the court to rule on. Mr. Rattigan's lawsuit sought a declaration that both Mrs. Johnson-Smith and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade failed to comply with the law and a directive by the Finance Ministry that required them to report a $99,000 donation as a gift. But the judge said evidence presented shows that Mrs. Johnson-Smith was not acting as a private individual in her candidacy for Secretary General. He said the government put her forward as its candidate, and so the monies would have gone to the government. Mrs. Johnson-Smith said she felt vindicated by the court's decision and expressed gratitude to members of the public who she said have shown unwavering support and belief in her integrity during the period. 60-year-old Robert Dyer, the Jamaica-born British man who went missing on Sunday after going for a nature walk in the hilly Ballards Valley area of St. Elizabeth, was found dead on Thursday. Hundreds of residents joined the police, soldiers and the fire brigade in a massive search that started Sunday after Mr. Dyer did not return from his walk. Head of the St. Elizabeth Police Division, Acting Superintendent Coolidge Minto, said Mr. Dyer was unable to locate his way back to the house after going for a nature walk. Mr. Dyer arrived in Jamaica on November 3 and was staying with relatives in Ballards Valley. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notification and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, let's hear from Niall Anderson, the 2024 Jamaica Rhodes Scholar.
Let me start by saying God is faithful. Honestly, it's an amazing feeling. It's unreal, to be honest. When I was in that room and Sir Alan came to announce the results, I was like, no, that's not the name he called. There's no way that's the name he called.
Scholar for 2024 is Mr. Niall Anderson.
Being in that room waiting with all the scholars, like, you get to learn their stories and you learn how amazing each one of these individuals are in their own respects, in their own fields. And for it to be narrowed down to you, like, that's an amazing blessing. So I'm feeling really grateful and also hopeful. Beyond just receiving the scholarship, I've really seen a snapshot of what Jamaica has to offer in terms of academic excellence when I really interacted with a lot of these scholars. So all around, it was an amazing experience. God willing, I'll be attending the University of Oxford, pursuing a master's degree by research in engineering science with a focus on robotics and artificial intelligence.
For the average Jamaican who doesn't know who Niall Anderson is, tell us some more about you.
So Niall is a Christian that really believes in the faithfulness of God. And I believe God will not only come true for me, he'll come true for this nation. And I'm happy to be a servant that, will do some good, will create some change, and hopefully uplift Jamaica even just a bit.